Hey guys, Stephen here, Fanatic Perspective. Texas football has a culture problem, part two, featuring Coach Bo Davis and him bringing so much necessary juice to the light. You can even call this Texas football still has a culture problem. As many of you know, I made the culture problem video last year uh, after all the eyes of Texas controversy. It was really after the Oklahoma game and all the controversy that was going on and everything swirling around our program, where we were talking about everything except for winning. And God bless Bo Davis for hammering home on the thing that I've been trying to identify in terms of establishing in our culture for the longest time. So God bless Bo Davis. I want to touch on that. First and foremost, quick shout out to our sponsor, BUSR, busr.com/fanatic. Go check them out, Sports 100 FP bonus that we're running on the promo when you sign up on busr.com/fanatic. We're running contests all the time, prop bets, all sorts of stuff. I might have some parlays I throw out there this weekend. Who knows? Might get a little crazy with it, but wonderful sponsor, the official sportsbook, official betting partner of Fanatic Perspective. So a lot of back and forth on social media after the leak video, and if you haven't seen the leak, go check that out. I won't post it here because everybody's seen it at this point. And shout out to everybody in the discourse that we've had, because a lot of people in our fan base, a lot of people in college football are on the right side of this in terms of being the side of Bo Davis, right? And just the OG, the triple OG, those of us who have grown up playing sports, those of us who play football, those any sport, right? Man, woman, boy, girl, you've been coached, or you've been in those moments on the bus after a disappointing loss, after sometimes an embarrassing loss, and they got to put a foot in somebody's ass. And in this case, Bo Davis addressing the team and saying things like, MFers got to get in the transfer portal. No more cutting up, no more kikiing and laughing when we just got our butts kicked. And he started with personal accountability. He said, I got my ass whooped. Not you, not we. He said, I got my ass whooped, because Bo Davis is a winner, he's a champion, and he takes personal accountability. Now, before I get into the Texas culture stuff, part two, I want to address a couple things just right off the bat with this week. So for the people out here that are saying that the language was inappropriate or they're bothered by it, because I did have a couple people send me some messages saying, Steve, you're not being sincere, you're being fake. What if your employer, what if your boss addressed you in that manner and spoke down to you, what have you, right? So some things to push back there. Number one, there's a big difference between competitive sports and working environment, whatnot. And let me tell you this: those of us who are working in the real world, and let this be a lesson to the young men and young women who are playing sports and eventually will transition into the real world, into the professional world. What we go through is actually worse. And let me tell you why. If in my job, I work in a high pressure, this is facts, I'm a high pressure sales executive by day. That's what I do. I've been in sales well over 15, 16 years at this point. If I go out there and I lay a 30-7 stink bomb in my job, I'm not getting cussed out, I'm getting fired. If I go and perform like that and I don't meet expectations and I underperform, I am relieved of my duties. I am terminated. I am now in LinkedIn, aka the transfer portal for adults, and I'm out here trying to figure it out, right? So miss me with, oh, I'm upset about the language and the verbal abuse. Also, this was not one-on-one with the player. This was him addressing the entire team after he saw behavior where where I'm not going to say the whole team, but people have tolerated losing to the point where you can crack a smile and laugh in that moment. And he said, no, I'm not tolerating that. Okay. So in the corporate, those of you, let's say you don't work in corporate America like I do. Let's say you're a private contractor, you own your own business, you're a small business owner. Let's say you're a wedding photographer and you take horrible pictures on somebody's big day. You're probably going to get cussed out by the bride and groom. And then they're going to do what? They're going to spread word of mouth. They're going to go to Yelp. You will lose business. If I put out poor product after poor product on this YouTube channel, I lose subscribers. Eventually, I lose this platform. I'm done. And at this level, this is why it's a learning lesson for these kids and for everybody involved in the program, and why I'm encouraged by this coaching staff as we move into the culture conversation. Why I'm encouraged by Bo Davis. Why I'm encouraged by the Steve Sarkisian having his back throughout the week, especially today at the press conference, and saying we need more of that. It'd be even awesome if we had a player step up and hold guys accountable to that degree. I mean, look, when one of the reasons why I'm so encouraged by the staff is that they're coming from the standpoint of we have to establish a culture where losing is not even an option. I've talked all year and I made the analogy about football for this team and our goals and everything we're trying to accomplish. It's a pass-fail grade. If you lose the game, it is a fail. OU, people talk about we were up 28-7. Xavier Worthy had 261 yards. Casey Thompson had 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. Fail. We didn't win the game. That's what they're trying to establish, and they're trying to relate it to life. And it's not that it's just a fail, but it's like we got to learn from this, brothers. We got to learn from this, ladies. Those of you who are competing out there, any realm of competition. Because once you get in real life, you better learn from those L's. Because no one's going to be there just to cuss you out. They won't cuss you out. You will be relieved of your duties. And some of these kids are going to learn that the hard way in the offseason, if we're going to be really real. Because he said transfer portal several times in that rant. That's a recurring theme. Because they understand they have to cleanse the locker room of bad apples. We want to talk about Texas culture. Go watch my Texas culture video from last year because all that stuff still applies today. This program needs an exorcism because there's some bad juju going on here that I can no longer explain regardless of coaching staffs. But I do know this staff that's in here now, because all we can do as Texas fans is support them, and they have my undying support at this point because what has been exposed is that this is a full-blown rebuild. Now, I'm not putting a timetable. I'm not saying that they can't get ahead of schedule and strike gold with certain players, whether it's in the transfer portal, people that are coming in, or nailing it in recruiting and those type of things. Because I'm going to get to talent evaluation in a second in terms of what we need to alter our expectations in terms of fans. But when we're looking at what they are trying to instill with these kids, I need people who are serious, and I need people who hate losing. I'd rather you be crying on the bus because it hurts than we're laughing and kikiing and playing around. That's real. That's real. And that's something they're trying to relate to these kids in terms of life stuff. Look, when I talk about exorcism and whatnot, I'm serious. Like just the bad luck that's been in this program and all those type of things. And it's so indicative with how they're losing the games. They're not just Iowa State, they got their ass whooped in the second half. No doubt about it. They still were leading at halftime. Like all the other ones, except for Arkansas, they were still leading. But one of the things that's being exposed now, we talk about all the close losses under Tom Herman. Now, all those things, when you remove some of the stronger-headed guys like a Sam Ehlinger, a Joe Osai, Sam Cosme, a Caden Stearns, a Chris Brown, all these Taquan Graham, all the guys that are really, really strong-willed, good seniors. I think that's a big part of why that group was so at least closer than the group we have now, where there is a void of leadership there from what we see. And what we're seeing is being validated by the product that's on the field. Because The coaches are getting them or helping them get out to these great starts. It's great. We're prepared, blah, 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 blah. And then that culture sets in. That lack of toughness, that lack of physicality, that lack of it hurts so damn much to lose that I don't want to feel that way. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to not end up in this situation next week, to not end up in this situation next to my brothers. We don't have that energy on this team yet. So these coaches got to will that right now. That's what they're working on. And so we as fans, we got to give them time. And I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say, look, y'all, I did not have this as a below 500 team before the season started. That's not to say that I'm not allowed to have high expectations. That's not to say that I expect us to suck for the next 5 years or anything like that. These guys make a lot of money. They got to turn this thing around and, as quickly as they can. But with that being said, we got to admit when we're wrong, and we got to learn. I've learned so much this football season myself as a fan. I've learned, I'll tell you this, one of the biggest things I've learned this season is you can no longer, and I've figured this before, but it's been solidified for me now. You can no longer just look at recruiting stars and automatically equate that to, oh, this team has a lot of talent. Oh, we have a lot of talent. I think it needs to be a more nuanced approach to that than just like blue chip rankings or whatever they call it, right? Because all the recruiting system is telling me how good somebody is when they're 17, 18 years old. That's it. So we look at these people 3 years after the fact, and you're like, oh, he's supposed to be a 5-star, or oh, he's supposed to be high 4-star. Why isn't he playing like that? Well, that's what he was when he came out of high school. That's what he was when he went to that camp. And if we want to get real about playing camp games. So us as fans, we got to look deeper, right? So if we look deeper, I asked the question before the season. Several YouTubers asked the question before the season. Who on the team is a first-round pick? How many first-round picks are on the team right now? Because what's an indicator of how much talent you have? How many recruiting people you got, or who the NFL is coming to get? Because the NFL, they're in the talent evaluation business more than, if not more than college. In college, you can play the camp game, you can do all this other stuff, finagle some things. And also we're talking about 17, 18-year-old young men who eventually, we don't know what they'll grow into. We don't know if that person even loves football yet. We don't know if he's ever even been around on a college campus where he can handle females and not get in trouble, and all these other variables that come into play. And I'll get to some of the variables in a second. But when we talk about talent, we got to start reevaluating how we're looking at assessing how much talent our team has. Because I'm tired of hearing Texas has all this talent, but ain't nobody getting drafted like that. Now, we got people getting drafted in the lower rounds, but we got people getting drafted like we a G5 school. You talk about how much talent you have. You have no first-round picks in the last 6, 7 years. None, not one. Come on now. And then the people that do get drafted a little bit higher are not even the people that came in here as 4 and 5 stars. The difference is when we talk about our culture, getting back to the point of culture, how much does it hurt to lose? And what are we even here for? People can talk about different things. Oh, you got to represent Texas. You got to do this. You got to do that. At the end of the day, I'm trying to win. And a lot of y'all that have real aspirations, you're trying to get to the league. But you can't get to the league if you're putting out bad tape. You can't get to the league if you don't know how to shed blocks. You can't get to the league if you don't have good technique. So even the people that are just in the business of, I'm trying to get to the league, or I want to be the best football player possible, and I'm trying to go and win somewhere. I came from winning culture in high school. I want to be a winning culture in Texas. Because I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get out of here. I had one of our subscribers send me, and I'm gonna read his note, and this is just something to think about, right? I'm not saying you got to agree or disagree with anything. I saw something on Twitter today that was very, very insightful in terms of You don't, anytime you hear something, you don't have to have a take right away. I want somebody to just listen to this and let it resonate. I'm not saying that everything this particular subscriber wrote to me is correct. I'm not saying this is any inside information. I'm just saying these are thoughts, things to think about, things for us to discuss. Okay, because thank God for Bo Davis for being a real one and showing that passion, showing that leadership that these young men need, and holding people accountable as well as himself, right? But we gotta, as we're doing this and thinking deeper in terms of culture, I want to read this. This comes from Jared from Oklahoma City. He sent me this, and I want to read his message because I think it's interesting, right? Jared said, "There's something that a really popular sports radio guy here in Oklahoma City has said for a really long time, probably the last 10 plus years, about Texas. Said, I've never wanted to believe it, but I think after Strong, Herman, and now Sark struggles, I think I'm forced to accept this as reality." And here's how he's always explained it. He said, when you're at Texas and you're trying to recruit a kid, you can't sell winning and you can't sell development because you haven't done those things now for 10 plus years. That means that a kid who chooses Texas is prioritizing all of the other things. Austin's beautiful, school's great, academics, recognition, brand. Because a kid who truly cares about playing on a winning team or being developed will go somewhere else, that's proven that they can do that, i.e. the Bamas, the OUs, the Clemsons, the Ohio States, the Georgias, etc. That doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions in the program. That doesn't mean that we don't have kids who are serious about winning and development. But that Texas doesn't get really good, talented kids who care about winning and development. He said it's just that when you have roughly 25 scholarships a year, if you're only getting a few kids who are the type of kid that care about going somewhere that is winning and developing, and the rest of the kids who prioritize the other stuff, it doesn't really matter who the coach is. This same concept can explain why teams such as Iowa State or Oklahoma State, who may only get predominantly 3-star kids, but they're getting kids that want to go somewhere where football and football only is what they care about in terms of getting better, in terms of winning. To me, it makes sense. Think about it. If you were a really good football player and you wanted to win now and make sure you were going to be developed, why would you pick Texas? What are your priorities? What do you care about? That means 90% of the kids that are choosing to come to Texas, could we say that they care more about the other things, i.e. the Brockemeyer twins, Quinn Ewers, Princely, all of those guys noted with why they did not choose to Texas or did not come to Texas, and winning and development were part of their priorities. So thank you, Jared. And I'm not saying, again, things to think about and whatnot. And, again, it's not saying, hey, the whole roster only came here because blah, 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 and they only care about the branding and all this type of stuff. And we got to even think bigger than that, right? Because name, image, likeness. Everybody's playing the name, image, likeness game. We're not even playing it as well as other schools are playing it right now. But everybody's playing the name, image, likeness game. And if you're Texas, to Jared's point and to his message that he sent to me, are we selling all of that even over what we can give kids in terms of, are they going to win football games and are they going to be developed? What are we selling? That's all we can sell. And I think this staff, whether it's Bo Davis, whether it's Steve Sarkisian, I think there's a couple different things you got to key in on, because I'm going to end this video this way and say, how do we overcome this? How do we repair the culture? You got to leverage your own personal credibility as a coach. So if you're Sark, we know what this offense, we know all of what we're seeing, right? And so, hey, the Xavier Worthies of the world, the guys that come in here and that are serious, because he came in, he wasn't even an early enrollee. He came in during the summer. He had an opportunity to be number one right away. Our suspicions before the season were accurate, by the way, in terms of if guys are coming in taking spots right away like that, there's a red flag there. We were right. But People are being showcased now. That's a plus for Sark. Guys are being developed. That's a plus. So you sell that. There's a reason why they keep saying, hey, we like Brendan Schooler. Hey, we like Byron Murphy. Hey, we like Tope Amade. Why? Because they're trying to sell development. And notice how they're using different types of guys in their pitch, right? Tope has been on this channel. We've talked about this in terms of he was ready to move on to the next chapter of his life and get through football, and everything was great. And Kyle Flood comes in here and says, hey, I love how you approach the game, your work ethic. Why don't you have aspirations of being a starter? And inspiring him, and he's put the work in to develop, because they're not trying to do just a youth movement. I've heard a lot of people say, well, let's just play the young guys the last few games. We're 4-5. We're sub 500 in November. Let's just play the young guys. No, we are here to develop the people that are serious. Tope showed that he was serious. A lot of y'all talk about Schooler. Y'all feel some type of way about Brendan Schooler, whatever. They like him. He's serious. He had 12 tackles last game. They feel like he is learning. We are here to teach the people who want to learn and be better football players and try to win us games. Byron Murphy, we've talked about him repeatedly, why he's getting so many snaps as a true freshman, because he's out there busting his ass. So those are the people that they're choosing to highlight, and those are the people who are getting better behind the scenes. And people like Xavier Worthy, who are like, he said on the Orange Boat channel, shout out to Serenity Douglas, and they do a wonderful job over there. And he's like, I can't make other guys play hard. But if you get enough of those kids, and this is how this staff can start to turn around, and not just focus on, I'm only going to develop my guys. Find the people that are serious, the diamonds in the rough, that you don't even, the other staff may have looked them over, or whoever. While you're weeding out the bad apples, it's going to take some time, Texas fans. I'm here to say that. It's going to take some time. Weed them out, right? And the other thing that these guys are going to have to do, if you're coming here, and this is really hard to vet in terms of the psychological and the mental, this is why the NFL combine process is so serious. What are your priorities? What are you coming here to do? And setting proper expectations. I think one of the reasons why people are so frustrated about people like Jatavian Sanders, we also as fans got to understand the process with certain positions. A lot of people telling me, okay, let's go get the Brockermeyers and put them in the portal and come here. Or all these offensive linemen, wonderful offense. They gotta hit the transfer portal for people that are really, really developed. One of the reasons the Brockermeyers went to Alabama is because at Alabama, they had an incubation period, a plan. Put them in there 2-3 years in the weight room, real time. People talking about, the Brockermeyers aren't playing right now. That was the plan. They're not supposed to play right now. If you're bringing in a whole bunch of freshmen every year to play offensive line, good luck. They want those guys to physically develop. So we're going to say, all right, let's go. I'm not saying I'm opposed to please listen. I'm not saying I'm opposed to taking Tommy and James Brockermeyer in the portal. Come through. That's not my point. But we've got to be patient in terms of that incubation period physically for these offensive linemen, because I want people who are big and nasty. That's what Kyle Flood wants. Tight ends, going back to Jatavian Sanders, one of the longest developing positions. So if he's going to stick at tight end, we got to be patient with the incubation process, especially with him not being an early enrollee. Not everybody's going to be a freak like the kids you see at Georgia that playing tight end as a freshman. That's an exception, not the rule. So if they can stick to that process, sell their current credibility, keep people like Bo Davis in your program, who will, and us as fans seeing that and saying, you know what, we get it now. Y'all gotta cleanse this thing first. We gotta go through our period and get this nonsense out the program. Yeah, we can always dissect scheme. Yeah, we gotta improve, coaching things and clean things up. But as Coach 30 says on TikTok all the time, we got to get the right kind of guys in here in this program. And that's never been more evident than this week to me. So while we still have a culture problem, at least I believe we have the people here that are identifying that problem. You have the guys in the locker room that are trying to, you have a culture problem. I can't believe I'm even just now mentioning this. The other thing that this Bo Davis situation brought to light and exposed, you got people recording stuff, phones out. That's a culture issue. You don't see stuff like that at high level programs. Wouldn't be tolerated. And look, we gotta be careful too, because somebody made a ridiculous mistake and that person's not right for our culture. That doesn't mean, when we hit the transfer portal, and again, you saw how many times he hit up transfer portal. Some kids are gonna hit the portal that are good kids. This is not the right fit for them anymore. They got to go somewhere else. We've had guys leave here recently and have a lot of success elsewhere. Totally fine. Not everybody's going to be a good fit for, whether it's a scheme thing, whether it's, hey, I need a fresh start elsewhere, new beginnings, what have you. Totally respect that. There's other people here who are bad for the culture, period. They got to go. You recording stuff like that, you got to go, bruh. But on the same token, I'm not saying you should be crucified and all this type of stuff, but you got to go. You're weak. That's weak. That's weak. That's no. And I don't like using that strong language when it comes to people, especially people I don't know personally. But when you see stuff like that, you got to get rid of people like that. You cannot be in our building. Now we got to be careful as fans because the lynch mob will come out for them, or even the kids in the building. That's why Sark has to be careful with it, because you don't want to have a Code Red Santiago situation if you've ever seen A Few Good Men either. We don't want to have a Code Red situation, but the brother needs to be removed, and they know who that is. So let me say this. The last thing this staff needs to hold on to, continuity. Unless people are starting to get poached for head coaching jobs, we got to keep the band together. It's not a coincidence the most successful position group on the team has the longest tenured position coach in Stan Drayton. It's not a coincidence. We hired these people for a reason. We believe in them. We believe in their gifts as coaches, as leaders of young men. They need the time to figure this shit out. Excuse my language. I know everybody's up in arms about language, but real rap, they need time to figure this out. Continuity, leverage your current credibility, and over time build it up. How did David Aranda go from 2 wins to the success he's having this year? Mel Tucker and all these other coaches, they turned it around when they didn't have wins. They couldn't sell winning like that at their programs like that, but they're able to turn it around quickly because they got the right kind of guys in there. They're able to leverage their own brand and own personal credibility and let the school develop. Y'all want to talk about, if we go back to Jared's thing, I'm not saying Austin or any of these other things or weaknesses, but they got to be a part of it. When the U was popping, we've seen big time college football programs thrive in big fun cities or non-traditional college towns. So I don't want to hear that either. But if people are coming to Austin, they need to be coming to Austin because they're coming to an elite football program. They're coming to a winning football program. They're coming to one of the best development football programs that happens to be in Austin. Not coming here because we're in Austin and all the other stuff. So just things to think about. Same thing with what USC is looking for. Same thing Miami's looking for. All the different types of regions. I mean, everybody's dealing with this, right? Everybody has to deal with 17, 18-year-old kids and how they develop. But guys, I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments how you think. I know I touched on a bunch of different things. Some of this is stream of consciousness, but I just want to, be sincere in terms of how this week has impacted everything. Anyway, hit up busr.com/fanatic. I appreciate everybody that has jumped on to, make some money with us. Sports 100 FP, 5-time rollover promo, 100% free play, matching all deposits. So appreciate everybody. busr.com/fanatic. I will be in Kansas. We'll be celebrating with our winners. Or not be in Kansas. I'll be at DKR watching Texas, Kansas. And if I see you there, say what's up. But remember, we're going to get through this. Horns always up. Love y'all.